What's up, guys? The Lazy Goldmaker here. We're back and we're going to start looking at professions for Mists of Pandaria. We're going to start with Alchemy on the top here, which I'm on my my one alchemist I have on Cataclysm right now, which is a Transmutation Master. So yeah, masteries, specializations, they're still going to be a thing in Mists of Pandaria. And they're still going to be extremely strong. They give 20% increased yields for your recipes, which is going to make or break your profits for the most part. So you need to have, if you want full benefits from alchemy, you're probably going to need 3. I have transmutation on mine. It was very good at the beginning, and I've preferred it personally. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the other 2 as well later. First things first, though, recipes. There's a big change in Mists of Pandaria professions, and that's how you learn recipes for alchemy, I should say. You get 2 recipes from your trainer. Everything else is a discovery, a random chance. When you craft a recipe you already know that you learn another one, and there are a bunch of recipes here. So you can get lucky and get all of them fairly cheaply, or you can get unlucky and you need to craft a ton of items before you get all of your recipes, or at least all of the ones you truly care about. So that is quite important. You need to craft them out. The good thing is that if you have enough gold, then you can obviously just spam craft and you're done. The bad part is you might get really unlucky and maybe the best recipe, or maybe you don't get any flask recipes and you're an elixir master and you just run into potion and transmutes, then you're going to be a little bit sad. Yeah, we can't really control that outside of rolling the dice more times than your competition, essentially. Now, if we're looking at the overall recipe list in terms of what you can do, it's very similar to Cataclysm. You have elixirs, which generally people don't use outside of very, very niche, super hardcore min-maxing, which may or may not exist in Mists of Pandaria. So maybe some of these have some sales, but I think only extremely sweaty people are going to do it, because if you die once, you lose it and you have to drink another elixir. Flasks persist through death, so people are just going to prefer this, unless they're very, very rich. We have flasks, all of the normal ones: intelligence, strength, agility. These 3 are going to be the top ones. Generally speaking, they're the best. Maybe some healers use spirit, maybe some tanks use stamina. Depends a little bit on whether or not they need the survivability or the mana regen, but usually they go for these 3. So these are the ones you really want to get. Potions, you have some cool potions. Healing potions, mana potions, all of the normal ones, and obviously we have the main stat potions, so intellect, strength, and agility, which are the ones that are going to sell by far the most. I would assume int potions are going to be the absolute top seller, because Warlock is, at least for later phases, is projecting is sort of the number 1 class in Mists for raid DPS. Then you have the interesting one, Potion of Luck. This one is really, really important. It gives you a chance to get, gives you a couple of % chance to drop a plundered treasure when you kill mobs, which gives you materials for free. So for any mob-based farm, any way you can kill tons and tons of mobs really, really quickly, this is really good. And those of you saw at the bottom here, you have a chance of getting Motes of Harmony. So this is one of the very few ways where you can sort of just straight up farm Motes of Harmony by using a Potion of Luck. So this one is going to be quite good. And then for transmutes, you have the gem transmutes, you have the primal, the meta gem transmute, the daily cooldown for living steel, the trillium bar, which is just goes turned into trillium, which should not have a cooldown either. Yeah. Now for all of these, specializations are going to make your break. Getting 20% extra on average is going to completely define whether or not you are making a profit. particularly for flasks and potions. They're sold into the region-wide, or not the region-wide, but the new retail-style auction house, where you just post a quantity. There's no stack sizing, so you can't use like tricks to get a better price. So you just have to be competitive on price. So there is zero chance that you can craft flasks or potions competitively without the relevant specialization. Now we're going to go through them a little bit. So in general, if you've had success with a specific approach already in Cataclysm, then you just keep doing that. That's going to work with just new recipes, essentially. I think the one thing to note is that flasks are going to be a lot better compared to Cataclysm because there's no cauldron in Mist of Pandaria. At least there wasn't in Mist of Pandaria originally. We'll see if they add some in the PTR. Which means that all of the raiders are going to need to be buying these off the auction house instead of getting it from cauldrons. So we should see a lot more flask demand in Cataclysm, in Mists than we've seen in Cataclysm. Potions, generally good, very high volume, very competitive. Potion of Luck, really interesting recipe. That is going to be quite important for a lot of farmers and a lot of crafters because it's a way to farm their modes of harmony. For Transmutes, obviously great Transmute alts. Have an army of living steel crafters, that's very good. If you also have a source of Spirits of Harmony, then there's the Riddle of Steel variant, which doesn't have a cooldown, but it's limited by having Spirits of Harmony. Which I don't remember if it was added in the first patch or not. I think it's coming in a later patch, but I don't quite remember, and it's not on this list on Wowhead. The uncommon gem transmutes were really good in early Cataclysm for me, in particular the red one. This is the main gem people go for generally. So if you can get this, get to 600 and get this, that's quite interesting. You also have the primal gem transmute was not super great in general in Cataclysm, but it was profitable at a lot of points, but not like a huge profit. And the sale rate isn't amazing. The primordial ruby generally is going to sell a lot faster than this one. But if you have the jewel crafter with the relevant recipes to actually utilize the gems into cuts, then they are better as well. So yeah, I think in general, Alchemy in Mist is playing overall, and as far as like what type of gold making strategies you're doing, extremely similar to Cataclysm. With just a note that how you unlock recipes is very different. So you need to get lucky. You can't target a specific recipe. You just have to craft and hope that you get the ones that are relevant for your specialization and the ones that are profitable. That also mean that like the very early days are going to be extremely interesting. If you get the right RNG and everyone else doesn't, then you can maybe make some very nice gold very early on, particularly with the transmutes. I think potions and flasks aren't really going to sell early on. People generally don't start buying them until they're ready to raid. So often there's not as many sales. There can be very high prices on herbs as well. So people just don't buy them because they're super overpriced and they aren't in any content where it matters yet. Whereas the transmutes, the stuff is used for a lot of different recipes. Living steel is used for a lot of stuff. The gems, obviously people are going to want to gem their gear. Maybe not the rare ones right away, but the rare gems typically just have a huge spike when the raid opens and people start getting epics that they want to absolutely put rare gems into. The rubies and stuff are also used in some other recipes. Perhaps most noticeably the Ruby Panther, as well as the Scope and a Ring Craft. So there are some other uses for the gems as well, which means that they are going to have more demand early on than the potions. So yeah, that's Alchemy. I think it's going to be a good profession. In particularly, this was a really important part of many different supply lines, doing the transmute with Golden Lotuses. I did a ton of transmuting, like many expansions later, to get the gems for crafting the Panther mounts, for instance. So this is quite important, and this both the potions and flasks represent like absolutely huge markets. So if you can be in them and be profitable, by being on like the cutting edge of cost optimization, then they are going to be really good as well. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.